Hey guys, so I just got done watching Fantastic Four First Steps, and so I'm going to give you my overall thoughts and review on the movie. So the first part will be spoiler free, but then the second half I'll go into spoilers. But I'll give you a spoiler warning before I get into all that. Um, so I was pretty excited but skeptical of this movie, but going in, I tried to have a open mind, and honestly, overall, it was a pretty good movie. There was a lot of things that worked, and not a lot that didn't work for me. Honestly, Fantastic Four has always been one of my favorite groups in Marvel. I think it would go probably X-Men and then Fantastic Four, as far as groups go in Marvel. Um, but the chemistry between all the characters really worked really well. Felt like the story was really good. There didn't feel like there was a bunch of rewrites like some Marvel movies. Everything felt like they had a clear vision. They knew what they wanted, and they executed pretty well on it. So it felt like a really seamless movie, to where it didn't seem like there was constant rewrites or constant re-editing or anything like that. It felt like a pretty clear vision throughout, which gives you faith in the movie itself. But there was a lot of things that I enjoyed about this movie. Once again, the chemistry between all the characters was really good, and the main things that you think of each character, the characters were portrayed to where they feel genuine and true to their characters, and nothing really feels forced. All the jokey type stuff works. None of it feels too forced or anything like that, or out of context or out of character or anything like that. I was skeptical of Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards, to be honest, but he completely sold me. Honestly, I think he's done the best interpretation of Reed Richards that I've seen on film, in the movies. So he nailed it. He did a great job. The only thing with this movie is I wish we would have gotten a little more action, but honestly, I'm willing to sacrifice some of the action for the good storytelling and the good character development. I feel like we got enough of each character to care about each character. The only person I would say maybe needed a little more character development, or to be fleshed out a little more, is Ben Grimm's The Thing. I feel like that one was, we got little glimpses, but I feel like we could have used a little more backstory for him. I know they're skipping the origin story and everything for the most part, but I feel like those are really the only two critiques I have. The CGI and the visual effects all looked pretty good. There was a few moments that I could tell a little bit, but it wasn't like horrible. It was just slightly off. A few moments with Silver Surfer, and a few moments with the baby, which are things that you'd sort of expect to be able to see, especially with the baby, because there's only so much you can do with an actual baby. But in the Silver Surfer, there's a few moments, but overall it looked good. Even the moments to where they stood out a little bit, it wasn't drastic where it took you out of the movie really. So that's the main thing for me, is if the CGI is so bad that it takes you out of the movie, then that's distracting from the story and the illusion. But none of those were that extreme to where they took you out of the movie. They were just slightly noticeable. They really leaned on the family aspect of the Fantastic Four, which I really enjoyed and was definitely a highlight of the movie for me. Once again, like I said, mainly just the lack of well, there was action, but felt like there could have been more action and more, how am I physical action, I guess, more beaten up, punching, stuff like that, you know, that you come to expect from superhero movies. But there was enough to where it was still good, and the story itself was good to where I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of the action for that. The first, I would say maybe the first 30 minutes or so does feel a little bit slow, but not super slow. Just a little bit of pacing issues, but not horrible. But the rest of the movie, once it gets going, it's really good, and goes by pretty quick. But just the first little bit, it struggles a little bit in pacing, but it's still not anything like so boring. It's just, you can notice it just a smidge, but not too bad. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend going and seeing it. There is 2 post-credit scenes. I won't tell you what they are. There's one right after the sort of initial credits, and then one at the very end. If you can only stay for one, stay for the first one. The second one, probably not as much. But if I had to give this movie a score or a rating from 1 to 10, I think I would give it an 8. It's a pretty solid movie. Yeah, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. And I do think it is better than Superman, in my opinion. Superman I gave a 7 out of 10, and this one I gave an 8 out of 10. Superman, the biggest thing was there's a lot of tone shifts, I guess, and moments that didn't feel organic or natural. But this movie, every single moment feels super like organic, and like the character would actually say that and do that, and none of it felt forced or anything like that. So this was a really good movie. The only reason that it's not higher is mainly because of the action. But really, I mean, it's a solid movie, 8 out of 10. Yeah, so now I'm going to transition into the spoiler section of the video. So if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend pausing this, go watch it, and then come back, because it's a really good movie. Alright, so you've been warned, so we're going into some spoiler stuff here, okay? So one of my favorite things in the whole movie is just the dynamic between all the characters, and the family aspect, and just all the characters really worked, and I cared for all of them. And like Reed, you could tell that he was super intelligent, and it came off just from little small details that he would talk about, and also the way Sue would sort of reference things like, I know how you are, and stuff like that, to where and even when Sue first tells Reed that she's pregnant, you can tell he's happy and everything, and then shortly after he sort of goes into the analytical mode of like, we've got to really adjust things and baby-proof the house and everything like that. So that's definitely something that like just general people would do, but you can see how it's heightened in him because he's super intelligent, and how he built the machine to be able to scan her stomach and stuff when she's pregnant with Franklin. But I really liked how all the characters were portrayed, and the actors did a great job. And none of them, like, because Johnny Storm sometimes can be, you know, he's a ladies' man or whatever, or he can be a little bit too much of a jerk at times. But in this movie, I didn't sense that at all. Like, he was the perfect balance between, he's a little, like, he's sort of goofy and likes to joke around a little bit, and you can tell he can sort of be slightly annoying to the family, but in like a easy way, where he's not like, he knows when not to push it too far, and he knows when to be serious. And I also like that they actually gave Johnny some intelligence to where he sort of factored out the language of the Silver Surfer and things like that, to where it justifies how he could be a part of this team, because he is smart and he has intelligence and he has something to offer the team. In some of the other iterations, Johnny's, it's like there's no way he could keep up with the rest of the team. And I also liked how they showed that Sue is a great leader and sort of diplomat type person, where she can she's sort of the more social and emotional leader, where Reed is a good leader as far as in battle and stuff like that. But they're a good team together, which I really enjoy, because Reed's not as much on the emotional side. He's more analytical, but he has emotional intelligence, which I also enjoy and appreciate, because he can learn very quickly to any extent, you know what I mean? But I liked how they showed those elements, to where Reed and Sue sort of complete each other, to where Reed's a little more of a better leader within like the battles and the superhero type stuff, like on missions and stuff like that. But Sue's a good leader when it comes to navigating like the politics or the sort of relationships, I should say, with like different characters within the movie, or different people like Mole Man, stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that. And the Thing, I enjoyed his character and his personality was really good. And I just wish we would have gotten a little bit more into his character. You can see there's a little moment where he's looking into the screen. It's the news broadcast, and it shows what he looked like before, and then he looks in the reflection, it shows himself now. And you get that little sense of, he doesn't like how he looks and stuff like that, but we don't get a whole lot of it. And we get a little bit when he's talking to that girl he likes, and sort of, you can tell how he's sort of embarrassed and everything like that. And your confidence definitely is going to be hurting when you're looking like a rock man, but I just wish we would have gotten a little more to his character arc in the movie. But other than that, I mean, it was a really solid movie. And I liked how basically every character had a little bit of an arc. I would have liked a little more of Galactus. And also, but the moments we did get with Galactus were really intense and scary and menacing. So I did enjoy that. But I wish we would have gotten a little more of them. And also, at the beginning, when they had sort of the montage of all the villains and stuff that the Fantastic Four had defeated, I wish we would have gotten maybe less of the montage, geez Louise, if I can speak, and maybe just had one solid fight to show them in a battle and doing some combat and stuff before we get to Galactus, because we really didn't get much action within the movie, except for towards the end. Well, we had the little bit of action with the spaceship and everything when they go to Galactus's ship, and with the Silver Surfer and stuff, and then the final deal, and that's about it. And so with the montage, yeah, it gives us a little bit of insight into they've defeated several villains and stuff, but I wish they would have given us an actual action sequence or something, show like a full battle of them defeating one of the characters. That would have been a better, maybe have a mini montage and then have that show interrupted to where they have to go fight a villain or something real quick, and then we can pick up the Galactus story, because it's a little slow, and then throughout building up to Galactus, and then we get to Galactus, and it's pretty good. It's pretty solid ending, but I feel like the build up to it, it was not this pretty, how should I say, actionless, I guess. Most of it was emotional stuff, so and sort of battling with the dilemma of giving up your baby and stuff, which also, that's another thing, is the storyline of, or the dilemma of giving up your baby or sacrificing the earth. That's a very interesting thing. I always love when movies, they give you an interesting topic or idea or dilemma to ponder, that each one of us, like, because I don't have kids, but yet I can understand the depth and the turmoil that would put somebody through to decide between your kid and a planet full of people. You know what I mean? So, and not knowing what to do, you know. So I really enjoyed, you know, anything you can give something that sort of conflicting to where the audience has to, you know, put themselves in that shoe, or in those shoes, to be like, what would I do in that situation? And then also see them, the characters, the Fantastic Four, going through that, you know, is a very, very interesting thing to base a movie on. And so that definitely worked. And like I said, it was a little lacking on the action, but because the story and the emotional ties throughout and the character development was also good, I can sort of be okay with a little less action, even though it's a superhero movie and you sort of more so expect some of the kicking and punching and superpowers and everything. I'm okay with it because of how good the story and everything was. If they would have added a little more action in there, especially with the Thing, because I would have liked to see him punch some more stuff. But if they would add a little more action in there, maybe just a fight sequence at the beginning, seeing them actually defeat a full sequence of them defeating a villain, I think it would have been a little bit better. But like I said, I gave it an 8 out of 10, so it's a really good movie. I probably, if it would have had more action stuff, probably bumped it up to a 9. If it had more action and we seen a little more of the Thing or Ben Grimm's sort of character arc, and the visual effects would have been just tweaked slightly, it would have been a 9 out of 10 or a 10. It was really good. But yeah, just slight minor gripes, nothing major. Still really enjoy this movie. There's not a whole lot of movies that I would say I would watch for a second time, but this one I would definitely consider watching again in theaters. That's how good it was. Superman I wouldn't watch again in theaters. That's personal opinion. Not saying it was a bad movie, but it just takes a special, really good movie for me to want to watch it again. In theaters, that is. The last movie that I watched a second time in theaters is Spider-Man No Way Home. So, like Guardians 3 was good, Thunderbolts was good, but those movies are a little bit darker. So I didn't watch those again. But this one, I definitely would consider watching it again. So definitely a solid movie, worth watching, especially if you're a Marvel fan. And since we're in the spoiler section, the 2 post-credit scenes, once again, spoiler warning, but if you've watched this far, I don't know why. The first one sets up Doctor Doom. So we see him with Franklin Richards 4 years past the events of Galactus. And well, hang on, I'll finish this. So he is with Franklin Richards, letting him like touch his face basically, because he has his mask off. And the second one's just sort of a funny, goofy version of the cartoon with these characters. But what I was going to say is it was really neat with having Franklin Richards is the one that healed Sue from dying. She died at the end of the Galactus battle, but Franklin Richards was laying on her and healed her, because you can see the cosmic sort of deals in her eyes. And I'm sure he showed her something, because she's like, yeah, he's more than us. But yeah, and it was cool to see how strong Sue really was. She could actually move Galactus, which was impressive. Sometimes I feel like her powers get downplayed a lot in movies. Like, she can just turn invisible and make little force fields and stuff, but I really liked how they utilized her in this movie. Like, turning the ship invisible was really awesome, and then really being able to move Galactus. Took a lot out of her though, but it was impressive, you know. She's probably the most powerful on the team. And Reed, he's probably the least powerful on the team as far as with his powers, but yet his mind is what is his strongest suit. So, but I really liked how they offered each character, like, how they are important to the team. And I just really liked the family dynamic was really good. Once again, just a little more action in it would have been cool. I'm really excited to see them pair up with like Avengers or X-Men or some of the other characters in the MCU. But I really hope that, and I also like that this movie was self-contained. We didn't have to worry about any other characters really. So I do hope after Doomsday and Secret Wars that the Fantastic Four do go back to their universe, and we can just have them there, because I really enjoyed just spending time with those characters in that world and the aesthetic. I'm not the biggest 60s or 70s style type person, but with this 60s futuristic is a really cool design, sort of like in The Incredibles. But I really enjoyed it, and it worked with the characters. But yeah, it was just a really good movie. So if you're watching this part, I'm sure you've probably seen it by now. So let me know what you guys thought of the movie in the comments below. Try not to put anything super spoiler-y, because some people might not have seen it yet, but just generic things you liked. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.